You remember when that famous NBA player got murdered by his own wife? Now, the wife's name is Sherah, and Sherah is about 39 when all this starts, and she's living in Memphis. And Sherah, she really wants money. I mean, she seems obsessed with it. Now, here's the thing about that though. Sherah is married to this recently retired NBA player, so she should have access to lots of money. But things are not going great in this marriage because both she and her former NBA husband believe that the other person is cheating on them. So they're like fighting all the time. And so one day in 2010, after 13 years together, they decide that it's too much and it's time for Sherah to get a divorce from her husband. Here's the thing about her famous former NBA player husband though. His name is Lorenzen, and Lorenzen, he's retired now, but he made a lot of money over the course of his basketball career. But despite that, he and Sherah are somehow having financial problems. And while they're trying to get along and co-parent through this whole divorce, it's not really working for Sherah. I guess she just doesn't trust him, and she feels like he isn't telling her the whole truth about all their finances. And so at some point she decides the best way to get some more money out of him is to just murder him and get paid through his life insurance plan. Now Sherah, she's not going to commit this murder herself. She's going to get someone else to do it. And that is when this guy comes in, Billy. And Billy, he's a landscaper. I guess he does yard work and landscaping for her, and I guess she thinks he is fine because pretty soon they start a smashing. So she ends up recruiting him to help her with this murder plot. And not only that, but Sherah also recruits her cousin to help her. This guy who we'll just call Cousin. So Sherah brings Billy and Cousin together and she's like, we've got to murder Lorenzen. And these two guys are like, all right. So then the two of them, Billy and Cousin, they drive from Memphis all the way over to Atlanta where Lorenzen's condo is, and they break into the place all quietly. And there on the couch, they see someone sleeping, and one of them walks up to this person and he realizes that it's not Lorenzen. And they're like, well, damn. And so they leave and they drive back to Memphis. So that plan failed, but Sherah is not about to give up. She really wants that life insurance money. So instead of trying to murder Lorenzen in his house in Atlanta, Sherah now decides to lure him over to Memphis and assassinate him there. And she's gonna lure him there by offering him sex. So she gets to work and she starts sending Lorenzen spicy text messages and whatnot, suggesting that he should come to Memphis soon so that they can smash. And I don't know if this works or what, but Lorenzen does end up coming to Memphis one weekend. And while he's there, he's scheduled to do a lot of stuff. Like he's got to attend his son's basketball game, he's got to attend his daughter's dance recital, and he's got to attend his sister's baby shower. So he's there in Memphis at his son's basketball game with some of his friends. And at some point he looks down at his phone and he sees that he's got some spicy messages from Sherah as she is literally sending him adult photos of herself telling him to come over right now. But I guess Lorenzen isn't interested right now. He still wants to keep doing his own thing. So after the game, he and his son go hang out with his other buddy. So now Sherah has to change tactics. Offering to smash didn't work. How embarrassing. So she gets pissed off and she calls him and she demands that he bring their son home right now. And Lorenzen, he doesn't want to argue, so he gets one of his buddies to drive him over to Sherah's house and drop him and his son off. And once they're there, the son and their other kids go to bed. And Sherah tells Lorenzen that she needs to go out to this random swampy field to meet a guy and pick up some money, which sounds really shady to me, but that's what she says she's gotta do. And not only that, but she wants Lorenzen to come along with her. So they both drive out to the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, to this swampy field area, and they get out of the car. And suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, Billy comes out of the woods and he's got a gun. And Lorenzen, he knows this isn't good. So he starts running away, and he also pulls out his phone and he calls 911. And right after the 911 operator answers, Lorenzen barely gets any words out, and blam, 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 Billy shoots him. And unfortunately, Lorenzen doesn't survive. Now, before he passed, he wasn't able to give the 911 operator his name or any information, but also the 911 operator doesn't follow up on the call. I guess she's just like, well, that was weird, and moves along with her day, so no police are dispatched. Anyway, then Sherah calls up Cousin and she's like, we did it, we killed him, but I need you to get rid of the weapon. So Cousin goes and gets the gun from her, and he drives one state over to Mississippi, and there he throws that gun in a lake. Now, I said before that Lorenzen had some things scheduled to do while he was in Memphis. his son's basketball game, his daughter's dance recital, and his sister's baby shower. And once Lorenzen doesn't show up for his sister's baby shower, his family starts to get worried, and they start to try and get in touch with him, but obviously they can't. So of course they contact Sherah. His mom calls her up and she's like, Lorenzen didn't show up. Do you know where he is? And Sherah's like, oh, I'm sure he's off with just some other women. So the family keeps looking for him, but they don't find anything. And after 4 days of looking, his mom decides that it's time to call the police and file a missing persons report. So now the police are involved and they question Sherah. And of course she lies to them. She tells them some crazy story about how she last saw Lorenzen a few days ago when he left with some armed men and a box of drugs, saying he was gonna try and sell those drugs. And it's around this time that police finally learn about the 911 call from the night Lorenzen disappeared, and they're able to trace it to that swampy field area. And there they find Lorenzen's body. Meanwhile, Sherah is able to cash in Lorenzen's life insurance policy, and she gets $1 million, and she starts spending it immediately. She buys a new house, new furniture, a new Cadillac Escalade, a Lexus. She buys a new swimming pool. I mean, in fact, in only 10 months after receiving the $1 million in life insurance money, she spends $970,000 of it. So she spent nearly all of it in under a year. But whatever, I guess she's out here living her dream. And plus, it looks like she just got away with murder until Sherah's luck runs out. So about 3 years go by, and it's now 2013, and Cousin actually gets convicted of murder. Not Lorenzen's murder, a completely different murder. I guess he had killed his girlfriend a few years before, so he starts asking for immunity if he gives prosecutors info about Lorenzen's murder. And of course they agree, so he tells them everything about Sherah wanting Lorenzen dead, and about Billy killing him, and that he was the one who helped get rid of the murder weapon by throwing it in a lake. And so eventually the FBI gets involved, and they wiretap Billy and Sherah, and that gives them all the info they need. And so in 2017, bam, Billy gets arrested. Here's his mugshot, and a week later, bam, Sherah is arrested too. Here's her mugshot. And so ultimately Sherah takes a plea deal and she gets 30 years in prison, while Billy did not take a plea deal and he gets sentenced to life in prison.